Hey. Welcome back, everyone. So, today we're going to talk about how to start a public speaking career and get paid to speak immediately. Definitely something I know you definitely want to learn more about. So, here we have it. We're going to have this discussion right now. So, in this session, I'm going to really share with you not only the secrets, but also the strategies that will help you fast track your journey to becoming a paid speaker. As a paid speaker myself, I will tell you I've learned a lot over the past couple years. Went through a lot of highs, went through a lot of lows, but now it's been so amazing to be in an experience where after pretty much public speaking for over 10 to 15 years, if you include my speaker career circuit within the high school and college era of my life, it's really been crazy. Right. And I've been through it all, where I've done countless free gigs. I did countless, travels around the world. There was a point where I had crazy amount of speaker burnout, just from doing so many different conferences, summits, webinars, workshops. I mean, you name it, I've done it. Right. And so this conversation is for those of you who maybe you've had one or two speaking engagements. Maybe you want to make this more of a lucrative opportunity. You really want to monetize your intellect, your expertise, your background, your experiences. Or maybe you just love getting on stage and really firing up a room, providing energy, providing inspiration, providing hope, wherever your reason for wanting to kick off a speaker career. I'm going to be very blunt and honest during this one, because I really think that if I knew these steps before I got into the speaker circuit, it would have not only alleviated a lot of pain, but it would have got me to where I am today, a more stable, lucrative, consistent career that doesn't interfere with all my other, now I would not always say just other ventures, but just life prospects. Because in my life, I like to say that, look, you don't want to be tied down to just the work that you do for pay. You also want to be able to live a life fully and have fun. I'm a mother of four, so I'm going to dive right into this conversation because I definitely know there's someone out here who needs to hear it. Okay. So by introduction, my name is Christine and Tim. I am a serial entrepreneur. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I'm a tech ecosystem builder. I've built several revenue generating companies. I've done a lot. I've been featured on a lot of media outlets for the work that I do. But if you Google me in any, space, you will see that when it comes to personal branding, really putting your thought leadership out there, crafting your message, crafting, your skill set in a way that's really unique to your communities is something very, very important to me, because I've done it my entire career. Some accidentally and some purposely, right? But the point is, it's like framing your message and framing your value is so important in today's chaotic, crazy, overstimulating world, right? And so hopefully you find this useful. So if this is your first time in engaging with me, welcome to my spot on the digital internet, and I hope to keep you within my ecosystem and keep adding value to you through these sessions. Be with me every week, same time, same place. I do this on the regular. All right, so let's get into the conversation. Okay, enough about that. So as I said before, we're going to talk about how to get started in public speaking, right? How to start your public speaking career and get paid to speak immediately. Because a lot of times the thought leadership that's out there is that, do as many free gigs as possible. And I think during the time when I started my career in the speaker circuit about 10 to 15 years ago, that made a lot of sense. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that today. However, a lot has changed within the speaker landscapes. I mean, people's moods have changed, audiences have shifted, event planners have changed the criteria, what they expect from speakers now. I mean, back in the day, you could just get, booked to speak at an event just based on an email. Now, you need to do a lot more to provide the credibility, the engagement, the energy that people really want to hear from, right? And so we're going to get into this. And the main thing I want to share is, first and foremost, I want to start by saying, for those of you who are on the fence and overthinking whether this is a great opportunity for you, whether you should do this, whether you should not, I want to tell you that it is actually an amazing, amazing career decision to become a public speaker, even if you're doing it to complement your entrepreneurial pursuits, your job pursuits. Because I will tell people that I have been a speaker throughout multiple eras in my life, right? I've been a public speaker as a college student, as a corporate professional, and as a serial entrepreneur. So it works in multitudes. Now, obviously, I'm a full-time speaker because now I've made content and be able to expand and scale, and we'll talk about that later. But here, for those of you who need not so much reasons, but a perspective as to what you're putting yourself into by becoming a public speaker. One, it's an amazing, amazing, phenomenal way to create immediate credibility right off the spot. When someone hears what you have to say and see that you command the room, command attention at an even pace where you just look like you flow, it does a lot for your career cred, and it's something that you should definitely tap into. Second, it helps you attract new career opportunities. In this world that you live in, no one stays in one function more than 2 years now. People are constantly rotating, constantly launching new projects. You want to put yourself in a position where you're exposed to as many industries, as many communities as possible, right? You want doors to open for you. You want to manifest great opportunities onto your life. And the best way to do that is be in a space where you're so visible as a public speaker. People come to you with inbound opportunities like, hey, I think that you would be a good fit for this. Or, hey, we're running a campaign. Can we be a part of it? Hey, I'm launching this project. Can you partner up? Because you command and you're in a position of authority as a public speaker, people immediately you kind of cross a check mark immediately for people to come to you with opportunities. So definitely that's a second reason why it's really good to get into this. The third thing is probably the most obvious. You're able to generate income passively. Obviously, this gets to the point where you're scaling your speaker career, where you build a profile, people know you, and you're able to build thought leadership and content that you could package and scale, sell at scale, right? But I can't stress this enough. Like, my speaker income is literally an amazing, amazing, amazing part of the reason why I have such a free schedule to be able to live my life with my family, with my friends, with my, ecosystem in a very, very unique and flexible way. So generating income clearly, and I want to make it clear, it's not just generating income through speaker bookings, but everything around being a public speaker. So definitely another great reason. And last but not least, it's an easy way to really capitalize on flexibility with your lifestyle. Now that there's such a slew, especially since the pandemic, of virtual event programming, you're finding more and more speakers, including myself, are able to monetize their content, their information virtually from home. Okay. So these are 4 really phenomenal reasons why you should become a public speaker and why it's not too late to really make the shift and the career decision purposely to get into the speaker circuit as quickly as possible, right? And again, you're listening to someone who's done it. I do this on a regular basis. I speak in front of thousands every single year. Small programs as small as like 5 people on a workshop to as big as 20,000 people in a room. That was my biggest engagement, okay? In Malaysia. I still haven't forgotten that, right? It is crazy to move a crowd at that magnitude. And I will tell you that when you go through the gamut of speaking at all these different stages, it also changes your worldview. And this is something that I didn't put on the slides, but you got to say you're seeing the world from a balcony view, and you're giving audiences of different backgrounds thought leadership to flip their perspective, flip their way of thinking. You are literally transforming lives with your words. Talk about impact. And it's something that you should really think about, the weight and the power that gives you. And we'll talk about the power of your voice later on in today's session, but these are the things to think about when making this career decision today. Okay. So let's start with the first question. How do you get your first speaking gig? And I think I've been in the speaker circuit for so long. Sometimes it's important to take a step back and remember where I started, because it's been crazy. Like, when I think about my first engagement, like, I cringe to think about it. I feel like I was way too emotional. I actually cried, right? So here it is. Now, my first actual talk was actually in high school. My senior year in high school, I was invited to come on stage to speak to my graduating class about my journey of finding scholarships and university supplies, because I was one of the few, if not one of the only people to get to submit close to 38 different college applications, got into at least 20 plus colleges, and got into Ivy League schools, got a full ride, including the Bill Gates scholarship. So it was a big story to tell. And so that was my first speaking engagement where formally I was invited to come on stage and share my journey. It was 5 to 10 minutes. It wasn't a long one, which is why I probably don't even know if anyone took pictures of that moment, because it was kind of like an ad hoc experience. But that journey resurfaced again during my college years, where I was invited to speak. I went to Dartmouth in the end, loved Dartmouth, go green, right? And during my senior year, This was actually my friends put me up to this because I knew I was a great speaker, but it's not something at that time I really cared about doing formally. And someone approached me, my friends approached me and said, like, look, what you've been through while in college, people need to hear that story. I'm about to get emotional. Like, people need to hear that story. So you should share it. Like this, I promise you, there's nobody that's been through what you've been through, and you don't know who you can inspire by telling this journey as we go into our graduating year and leaving college to go into the real world. And so I got on stage. It was like a panel where they picked pretty much, I think, 8 different members of the graduating class that either first off showed leadership. I was a big campus leader, leading in so many different departments at the school, but people knew me. I was very active. I was a life of a party. I loved college. I loved people, right? And so when I was invited to come on stage, I opened up, and pretty much my story was, to everyone who was watching me, I just looked like I was just this fun, happy person that just loved to serve, loved to party and have a good time, and welcome people to my room and really mentor and support. But behind closed doors, I was working multiple jobs, not because I needed it for me personally, because remember, I had a full ride, I had a full scholarship, but because I was provided for my entire family, who were at the time stuck in Haiti post earthquake in 2010. I graduated in 2011, so you could see, to spend like a couple of years even prior to that supporting them, and then even that. And when I made that talk, my parents still have not arrived yet, especially my dad, to be able to make it, because they still were stuck in the country. Okay. So it definitely put people in tears, because a lot of people didn't know, right? Because I'm very hardcore person. I don't like to showcase my issues. Like, I'm the type of girl, like, I just roll up my sleeves. But this was the first time that I got on stage and really opened up and shared my journey and really opened up to the audience, right? And of course, from that thenceforth, it became a completely different experience going forward, being in the speaker circuit. So my journey has completely shifted since then. Not as emotional, probably more like, a lot of people who hear me speak say that I'm very inspiring, very out there, very vocal, very authentic, very raw, very goofy as well. So a lot of my feedback has been like, yo, look, you're a powerful speaker and you resonate, right? And so my journey has completely shifted. So since that time period, I went into the corporate world, graduated from Dartmouth, went into corporate space, into banking, quit after 2.5 years. By the way, I loved my job too, right? But I just wanted to pursue entrepreneurial opportunities, launch my first startup, went viral with that company within 2 years, made the Forbes list. And my speaker career kicked off again, because once again, I was called upon. And you got to really think about, when people are calling upon you to share something, to do something, it is a window into opportunity where people are saying, like, you've done something right, and other people can learn from you. And I don't think you should shut that down, because I spent a long time shutting that down, right? And I'm glad that I finally did listen, because I realized, like, I was really, I light up when I'm on stage sharing value. So I kicked off my speaker career simply by accident, because people kept inviting me, like, yo, how did you build your company? How did you get into Dartmouth? How did you, start this company from scratch? How did you relocate as a female woman in the Middle East? Because I was in Dubai at that time. Like, how did you do this? Was the question that kept happening. And obviously, media outlets happened, started to meet the right people, and really started to expand my reach. And again, during this time, and speaking on a lot of stages where I'm not really getting paid, right? I'm doing a lot of free gigs, providing immense value, but I'm not really paid to speak, right? So when I take a step back, my first gig was the opportunity to share my story. Plain and simple. It was an opportunity to, hopefully inspire or instigate someone into positive action in their lives through the journey that I took in my story, right? In my life. Now, obviously, now it's been recognized. So a lot of times when people applaud the work that you do, it's easier for people who want to hear that journey. And I've been able to tell that journey in many different audiences. But when you are shifting to becoming a public speaker formally, where you're about to be a paid public speaker who's booked to do things, right? You kind of shift from storytelling to story selling. And let me be clear, you're not selling, you're not a sleazy person where you're selling off the cuff. No, what I mean by this is simply that in a sense, we're all selling or pitching something, right? And I want to take you back to, like, all the childhood movies that you've grown to love, like The Lion King or Mulan or Beauty and the Beast, or any of these childhood stories that we all iconically know very well. They all have the same structure. It's called the hero's journey, where an individual like you or myself, we go through life challenges, because this life, there will always be challenges. Along the way, we meet some friends to help us through that challenge, but at some point things just hit rock bottom. Through that rock bottom, that's where character is formed, where you learn new things, you learn new insights, and then you go back into the world with that transformation, that revelation, and you go out there, put your stuff out there, and you come back reformed. And then again, life goes, right? And then you go through another cycle and another cycle and another cycle, right? We all go through these character journeys in our lives, which is called the hero's journey. So when you become a paid public speaker, you articulate pretty much the lessons that you could provide, the value that you could provide your audience through that lens of a hero's journey. And this is the reason why a lot of people sometimes overthink whether they can become public speakers, because they don't recognize that you have also have went through our hero's journey in your life. A lot of us have a major arc, a major hero's journey. This is the ones that you hear from the Tony Robbins of the world, the Oprah Winfrey's, where their narrative is very clear, but they've also had a lot of micro hero's journey where they've overcome micro challenges in their lives, and they're able to sell and promote that value, those lessons, those perspectives and insights to others, so people don't have to go through the same arc of trials and tribulations. That's the point of sharing your journey. It's not only to inspire, but to inform someone so they don't have to make the same mistakes, right? And so what happens is then, like, you now become a solution-oriented speaker. Okay. So you're not on stage just to share something, you're on stage to solve something. Let me run that back. When you're speaking, this is the reason why a lot of people are not able to make the shift from doing speaking gigs from free and then doing speaking gigs where you're paid, where you're a thought leader and people are paying you for your work. What happens is, again, you go from sharing your stories, right? That's your goal, to now you're trying to solve problems for people. Okay. And when you get into that mode, your content changes, your approach changes, how you present yourself changes, because now you're packaging yourself for the audience and not packaging yourself for yourself to get noticed, if that makes sense, right? So it's very important that you understand that shift is something so subtle, but a lot of people don't know how to make that change, which is why you see a lot of people, if they do ever get speaking engagements, it's always free. And they wonder, well, I'm such a great speaker. Yeah, you might sound great, but you never get paid for it if people don't see you solving an actual need, okay? So with that said, I'm going to share with you 5 steps, because there's so much to this, and I want to simplify this as much as possible during this webinar and share with you 5 steps to helping you start a public speaking career and getting paid to speak immediately. Let's start with the first one. First things first, I alluded to this earlier, but I want to double down on this. The power of your voice. You have to accept, no matter who you are, even though there are multiple people that have been to the same country, been to the same city, or experienced the same set of experiences that you've done, they didn't experience it in the way that you have, right? So understand that, for example, me as a Black female entrepreneur who grew up in the Caribbean, who lived in Africa, based in New York, loved to, travel. Of course, there are other women that fit that profile, but how I experience all these things is still going to be different to the other thousands of women who might have the same exact profile, but again, maybe not the same exact experience or journey, right? So when I share my story and that journey along that experience of being this Caribbean, Black, African-American woman who travels the world, I became a mother, right? I got married. I, got my first job. I sold my first company. I started multiple businesses. Like, all those different milestones came with their own set of challenges. And I went through this hero's journey of learning that. And so what happens is that one thing that I always tell people in our programs. We have a, paid speaker accelerator program where we share with, our audience, like, look, this is the blueprint for you to like write at least 10 different micro journey experiences where you've learned lessons in life that someone else can learn from. And I always tell people, you might think that you're not an expert, but there are things that you've been through that other people don't know how to do. That's the audience you're speaking to. You're not speaking to the audience who already know what you're doing is ahead of you. Understand your audience. You're speaking to the people who have not done what you've done and are trying to do what you're doing. When you frame it and see your audience in that way, you no longer have this imposter syndrome where you feel like you have to like overcompensate, over research content to make yourself feel like you're an actual expert. Again, keep it within your lane. You're targeting the audience that did not reach the milestone that you reach and want your support. Okay. So that is the first step, knowing the power of your voice through your hero's journey and creating lessons and information and solutions for those lessons that you experience to other people. That's the first thing. When you're able to craft this structure and write that down, you are on to the races. Okay. So I definitely challenge you, let me know, like, what's something that you've done in your life that really pushed you to the brink. You came out on top, you learned a lot, and you could share wisdom, like a 10-step plan on how to really navigate that. Share that with me in the comments. Second, now you're going to get paid to speak, because once you have found those micro experiences, you can now align them with thought leadership packages that people want to learn from. This is how people get corporate clients like myself, where if I learned how to become a mother while balancing being a business, that's a productivity and life well-balanced type of talk. There's a lot of clients, conferences that need women who've undergone the path of becoming mothers while managing a business and navigating that lifestyle. People will book me to speak about that. You see, it's a life challenge that I've experienced. I went over the whole, because now I have 4 kids, so I pretty much have a structure in place. So talk about being an expert at this, right? And I'm able to package that into a signature talk and say, who do you know needs to learn from this journey? Do you see where I'm going with this, right? Now you've gotten to a point where you've created something of value that people could take in. And this is the reason why, for those of you who have multiple talk items and you're getting all confused, this is the reason why it's important to have one. Come back again. One. I'm going to come back again. One. God damn it. One signature talk. You could speak to a lot of different topics, but you have to have one major signature talk. And I also tell people, even if you feel like you're going to pigeonhole yourself, you will grow the topics over time, but you have to have one thing that people know you for, that they could book you immediately. And that's the reason why you got to think about your hero's journey, what you've been through in your life, and which one does resonates with you the most, that is in high demand. You'll find being more focused will get you more speaking engagements than being wide, speaking to too many different thought leadership processes. Okay. So that's the second one. Third, once you figured out the power of your voice and understand that hero's journey and know how to articulate your hero's journey on paper, and now know how to align that with thought leadership pieces that people need into a signature talk. The third thing is you need to build your speaker brand, right? 3 things: social media, website, and portfolio. And it starts with social media, y'all. Like, I know the website is important, but it starts with social media. Social media dictates so much opportunities that I am finding. Like, the majority of my engagements come through my social media pages. And I don't pay for social media. So you can imagine, for those of you who say like, oh, I don't have the money to start building a profile, it has nothing to do with your budget. It has everything to do with how you brand with what you have, which is free platforms like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, to put yourself out there. So the first thing I would say is like, make sure you optimize your profile as such. So if you don't even have that you're a public speaker in your title, right, it says something. So if you see there, like I have it in my banner, this is actually an older one where I've updated where it says public speaker in the title as well, right? You gotta be searchable on the engines, where if someone's Googling on LinkedIn for public speakers in New York, I'm able to come up because it's in my title, right? So it's easily searchable. So your social media needs to be optimized with the key phrases that said that you are a public speaker and you're ready for hire. The second thing is your website has to be on point and be very simple. I tell people you don't have to have multiple pages if you're overwhelmed by this. One landing page that's very clear and simple, right? That says who you are, who you serve is very, very important, and an easy way for people to download your bio, your photo, and be able to contact you immediately and book you for speaking opportunities. On my site is a very clean and cut. I tell you who I am, way to contact my team. Everything is right there, all in one landing page. And the last thing is a portfolio. There has to be videos, photos of you speaking at engagements. Back in the day, you could really just go off the bat and just start speaking. But now, because things have gotten so personal branding has become such a mainstream thing that people don't cut slack anymore with you not crafting your personal brand properly. So you have to be able to have a portfolio, and that's really just evidence of your speaking engagements. And if you haven't done it before, put yourself out there, host your own event, small program, 10 people or less, and get the photos and the video reels and then get started. There's literally no excuse for you to build your speaker brand properly. I have a whole session where I audit people's profiles on LinkedIn, on social media, on the website, and I go to work and tell them, here are all the gaps of opportunities that you're losing out in, and here's the issue as to why you're not getting booked for paid engagements because of this, and this, and because you're missing this, and this, okay? So you have to build your speaker brand. Fourth, you have to market and promote. And this is a big one. A lot of people think that all speaking engagements are inbound. And this is something that I can't stress this enough. Even if you have high visibility, even celebrities have to do outreach for speaking engagements. And so my team actively search for engagements that happen. There are thousands every day. And in our paid speaker accelerator program, we talk about databases that you can leverage, ways to search for events, relationships building practices to do on social media, to be able to engage with social media event planners, right? You do have to do outbound, right? And reach out to event organizers to get booked. Okay. And I want to share with you my system of really managing all that. It really starts with my LinkedIn. It's probably my dominant form on social media. And I always talk about the power of one page. This free page really creates a lot of visibility for me. And speaking engagements has really come through the roof through this platform for me, right? And so my methodology, and I have a whole other webinar session where I talk about my scope methodology. So feel free to check the link in the bottom to get access to that full webinar training. But it's called Scope. And this is where you as a speaker, you build your profile. You know what speaker circuits to target, which is what identity do you serve? Are you a female entrepreneur? Usually it's easier to target the audiences that you represent and then expand from there, right? So what speaker circuits are you targeting to attract? What opportunities are you creating yourself? This is where I get really into the digital marketing and guerrilla marketing tactics of finding opportunities by doing outbound emails and doing campaigns where you're putting yourself out there on social, which eventually builds a pipeline. So it's like a numbers game. So if you send out 1,000 emails, maybe 10% of them reply back, which is about 100. And then maybe 10% gets to the discovery call where we're having a discussion, and 5 of them become booking opportunities, right? Where you're paid to speak. So it is a numbers game. So that pipeline process, how are you navigating the funnel, right? To be able to search for opportunities, get inbound coming in, and then funnel them through. And another time, build equity where at a certain point, once you're in the speaker circuit for a period of time, you start to create a referral database where people start to, give you testimonials and talk about your work. You get featured in articles, you get in magazines, where now you're building brand equity as a personal speaker, as a public speaker, and people start to talk about it. And that equity pays you in dividends, where you don't have to go through this circuit cycle as hard as you did when you first got started. So when you're in beginning stages, you have to go through the circuit really hard. I always tell people, if you want to become a public speaker officially, accept the fact that the first year or two is going to be a little bit difficult because you're building the foundation of getting on the circuit from scratch. And when I say circuit, you got to constantly be in the loops, or you'll have a month or several months where you're not getting booked for anything. And that's the worst. If you're trying to become a real paid public speaker where you want to live off this, I've been through this before, where if you're out of the circuit, you're out of the circuit. And again, this is a big mistake. I didn't know that people were doing inbounds. I thought if I did a really great job at an event, people will come to me. So a lot of the beginning wave of my speaker career, I was getting a lot of inbound. I'm still getting a lot of inbound, but it pales in comparison of me putting it out there with my team and then making sure that there's always a pipeline of opportunities coming in. So that circuit and that cycle is very, very important, that you know how to run that cycle. Again, we talk about this in our Paid Speaker Accelerator program, where we show you how to navigate and manage this cycle, so that way you have a clean structure and process for outreach and inbound. And in 5, this is where you get to the point where you've been in the speaker circuit for some time. And I always tell people, like, take your time with this, because you want to get into the rhythm of really being in the circuit properly before scaling your speaker career and going directly to consumers without the middleman, which is the event organizer. And what this looks like is, like, now you host your own events. You don't need an event planner book you book yourself, right? You start creating your own packages. Like, for example, I have accelerator programs, bootcamp programs, where instead of me having to go to, let's say, Madison Square Garden to do a conference event at Javits Center in New York, where the event organizer books me and give me a fee, I can host my own event and then sell and package that product to the crowd. And there you go. I made more money. And I will say that I've made more money packaging my own products than doing speaking engagements, right? And then you start launching your own package experience. So I've done retreats, I've done conferences, I've done virtual programs, courses, workshops. You start to really get really good at monetizing, again, now your brand, because the speaker career has now started to kick off, right? So it becomes really, really fruitful. And then again, this is where you start to build equity, because to do that, you scale your speaker career when you got to a point where you've done enough free engagements to strategic, because I still do free engagements, by the way, if they appeal to the criteria that I set for, where they're a community that I love and serve, like, me being a Haitian, there's a lot of Haitian programs I don't charge for, because I'm Haitian and I'm passionately Haitian, for example, and I have a quota. So that way I'm not compromising my speaker business and my, other obligations by doing a bunch of engagements for free. So I have a quota per year of free engagement that I do no matter what. All right. And once that quota is done, I'm done. You could book me next year if you need me to come through, right? So these are the things where I'm building equity, where I'm doing the work, I'm getting references, I'm getting recommendations, and also creating free resources for my audiences, where people like keep my name in the circuit because I'm doing the work of creating value, right? And of course, building that equity over time of creating really great products. I've mentioned this before. I have an entire product suite right now. I have a retreat. I have an accelerator program. I have workshops. I have masterclasses. I have a whole team that runs a whole summit, right? There's multiple things that I've done. And I would say that, for a lot of people, you'll find that you're going to get for several years, you're going to get in an experimentation phase. Even if I give you the exact blueprint, you're going to experiment webinar structures, workshop structures, conference structures, retreat structures, course creation products, right? You're going to go through the process of creating different products, and you'll find the ones that work best for you, because the products that I offer right now with my speaker brand today is very different than what I was offering in 2017, for example, right? And so ultimately, your journey and your story is creating the magnet effect for all of these opportunities to come through your way as a paid speaker. And that is literally the process that you have to go through to be able to get to the point where you are getting speaking engagements, right? So first and foremost, understand the power of your voice. Let's recap this right now, and making sure that you know how to leverage the hero's journey when it comes to getting booked for engagements. If you do not know how to craft your story into the hero's journey format, people won't book you to speak. And this is the reason why you see a lot of people, they're crying on the internet thinking that they're trying to be victims, and people get annoyed, right? Because people know when you're bullshitting them, right? When you've really been through something in your life and you've come out on top, the way you talk about it, it stops the freaking room. Do you understand me? So you got to understand, like, what have you, and this is where you got to do a little bit of soul searching. What have you been through? And it's not to be a bad thing. It could be a great thing, right? But there's something emotion that took place in your life that made you grow. There's no way any of you have been on this planet, you have not had something that shift your thinking, shift your way of being. You have to have had something, right? So the power of your voice and aligning that with the hero's journey is the first thing. The second thing is you get paid to speak once you align your hero's journey, your micro lessons into the thought leadership topics that people need to hear. This is where you're translating. Let's say you have 10 micro hero's journeys that you've overcome in your life. what are 10 trends that are happening right now? So I gave a perfect example of that. Okay, in my life, there's multiple things that I've done where I've started a new business. That's a journey right there. I know a lot of entrepreneurs want to pay to hear that, right? I became a mother. There's a lot of women out there want to hear, like, yo, how did you become a mother, right? I relocated to a new country. Okay, how did you do that, right? I can think of 10 different journeys that I've been through in my life. And now, how do I package that? I was like, okay, these are the journeys I've went through, and this is what I can share to the public as to the lessons I learned, so I can shortcut their success. And now I'm making an impact because what I'm saying is helping someone else get ahead faster, right? So that's why you get paid to speak. And then third, you're building your speaker brand. This is the website, the social media pages, your portfolio. You're building that brand to get people to know you. And number four is marketing, promoting your speaker career. You got to put yourself out there. And this is, again, one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people don't know is that you do have to do outbound with email scripts and calls so people to know who you are in the circuit. Because another thing that people don't know about the industry, a lot of event planners don't stay in the industry. Okay. A lot of them get rotated a lot, especially with conferences and events. So you might think that, oh, the connections you have today will work tomorrow. They won't. You have to keep constantly building new connections and new networks, right? So very important that you understand that. And then number five, scaling your speaker career by creating products, creating your own events, hosting your own retreats and programs where now you're not dependent on event planners. You are now booking yourself as opposed to waiting to get booked. And what really is a great sweet spot where I'm at right now is managing the speaking engagements that come to you, where you can decipher which one is the beneficial to you, and also creating your own opportunities. Okay. So very important that you're able to do that. Okay. And that's it. All right. So hopefully you found this very useful, how to start a public speaking career and get paid to speak immediately. Definitely, if you want to learn more about how to really navigate the speaker landscape, I am hosting next week a program, an accelerator program, which is the paid speaker accelerator program. It's been revamped from the first time that I hosted it earlier this year. So I'm looking forward to sharing with you guys updated information. It's actually expanded to in scope to more content. So we added 6 more hours of content, which includes resources like email scripts, information on databases that you need to be leveraging today, and how to frame your proposition as a speaker, and helping you create that signature talk that we talked about earlier today that gets you booked immediately. So if you want more information on that, go to christineandtim.com/learn, and you'll be able to get more information on how to really get access to that program. Without further ado, guys, thank you so much for joining me. As always, it's always a pleasure. And I hope that you found this useful. I can't wait to hear how you guys manifest your journey into the public speaking realm. Stay tuned. We'll be in touch. Thank you so, so much. Bye-bye.